In this video, I'm going to tell you why you're still stuck with a beginner level of physique despite seemingly attempting everything in your power to accumulate more muscle mass. You can't push through that plateau despite trying every split imaginable. High reps, low reps, high volume, high frequency, low frequency, fast reps, slow reps, advanced techniques, straight sets, supplementation, dietary protocols. You've tried it all, but still your physique is stuck at the beginner level. That's what we're going to look into today's video. But before we start, just a friendly reminder to check out my description box for all the links to coaching, comprehensive Excel trackers, my Mad Cow template, free Google Sheets, free newsletters, and timestamps so you can skip through to the part that you want to watch. What I'm going to tell you in this video is likely something that you're not going to want to listen to, but it's something I think you're going to have to if you want to continue to improve your physique as a lifetime natural bodybuilder. Because at the end of the day, you are doing it on hard mode. There's nothing else to fall back on here. You have to get it right. And there's a reason why, if after some time spent training, you still have a beginner level of physique, you have to hold yourself accountable to this and approach it with a humble mindset. And I think a little bit of self-reflection will be required. Now, you're not going to hear this information from many other creators or gurus, ultimately because it's not going to make a video go viral. It's not going to make it very easy for me to sell coaching because there's no gimmick that I can tell you that works better than something else. It's just very, very basic, simple information. Hopefully I can convey it in a way that makes sense to you. Obviously, this video is specifically aimed at beginners. First and foremost, I think I should at least try to define a beginner level of physique. And this is not an easy task. There are a lot of nuances that can affect how someone's physique is perceived by others. Genetic composition, makes a big difference in how a physique is kind of structured. You could have maybe a intermediate level upper body, but novice to beginner level lower body. So, it's not easy to do. And also, of course, you have to remember there are people out there that are so genetically gifted, they may not need to do any training or perhaps train for a very short period of time before they overcome the beginner level of physique. But this video isn't for them. They're not going to be struggling to accumulate muscle mass. They can do whatever they want to push past that level. They're not going to be, watching a video like this. This is for the average person like me, in which it's going to take a considerable amount of effort to push past that beginner level. It's where most people are going to get stuck at the end of the day. So it requires some effort to do this. So I guess the best way of defining this, for me, at least my opinion, would be if an untrained eye, so a general kind of bystander, were to see your physique, they would instantly recognise that you trained with weights, that you were a gym goer or a bodybuilder. So if they saw you with board shorts, they'd be like, that guy trains in the gym, he lifts weights. It's obvious immediately. I think that, for me, kind of makes sense. You've kind of reached the intermediate stages if it's instantly recognisable that you are, training with weights. And that's, of course, what most people want. They want, recognition for their work. You want to be able to put effort and time into something and for that to be recognised, and, it makes you feel good, doesn't it? And I think that's what, a lot of people get really frustrated with. So that's what I would define it as. Most people do get stuck before they get to that level, despite spending hours and hours in the gym. More often than not, the importance of training is downplayed in favour of the other variables, such as sleep and rest and supplementation and diet. Without training, without the stimulus, everything else is irrelevant, especially as a beginner when you're going to be so sensitive to the stimulus that you present a muscle. Sure, as you move through your intermediate and advanced stages of physique development, the other variables become more important, but still, they're not going to be as important as training itself. It will always be number one. And I see this as a common trend. People often try to downplay the importance of training. Training will be the most important and most influential contributing factor in determining your ability to build muscle. So remember that. All too often I'm asked questions about things that aren't important, especially from beginners. How many grams of creatine should I take a day? Are amino acids any good? How many meals should I consume a day? Should I train if I've only slept 6 hours? Is it better to have whey protein or chicken breast? Things that just aren't important when all of your energy and focus should be spent on training, especially initially. You can build muscle initially on a calorie deficit. You can build muscle with 3 hours sleep a night. You can build muscle without taking any supplementation and not worrying about how many meals you should consume. It may be harder, but you can escape beginner level physique by getting your training right and forgetting about everything else and doing everything else wrong. You can still build a good physique. And as I said, this is going to get harder and harder as you move through those stages, but to get to a decent level just requires the training. I can't drum into you enough how important that is. In terms of the training, a lifter that's stuck at beginner level physique or has been there, for some time, that can't escape that, will have the wrong mentality when it comes to training. They'll believe that the grass will always be greener on the other side. There'll be a program out there that will give them better gains, a style of lifting that will work better for them, an exercise that will give them more muscle growth than any other movement. They're always looking for that next thing, that thing that will solve the problem they have, which is building more muscle mass. But until they fix the one problem that affects them all, it's irrelevant what you do. It is irrelevant how you approach your training as a beginner. That is the harsh reality of it. Now, sure, there are programs and styles of lifting that might work better, but mostly it comes down to, long-term adherence, making a program that works for you, kind of convenience and stuff like that. Realistically, you can go into the gym and do any kind of style of lifting you want, any split, and you're going to see good results if you approach your training with this one factor in mind, and that is training intensity. You are not training hard enough. That's why your physique is still stuck at the beginner stages. It's as simple as that. You may think that you train hard. You may even in fact train hard, but it's not in a way that's conducive to stimulating muscle growth. All too often I hear lifters tell me that they train hard. They work up a sweat during the workout. What does that mean? Then I watch them train and I can see the same pitfalls over and over and over again, like clockwork. A lack of intensity per set, physiologically in terms of proximity to failure, and mentally. They're not in the set. They're not really focused on it. There's no real intent there. Look at the psychological focus of a beginner level athlete and someone that's advanced. It's a completely different ball game, guys. So you must improve that if you have any hope of escaping the beginner level trap. Lifters often tend to confuse hard training with fast training. They're very, very different. You can easily bottleneck your potential stimulus that you place on a muscle in order for it to grow by stamina, by cardiovascular fitness. You're training throughout a session with your heart rate really high, working up a sweat. You think that you're working hard. People perceive you to be working hard, but it doesn't actually mean you're working hard in a way that's going to pay you back in terms of muscular growth. That's important. What I'm talking about here is hard training per set, in the set. Are you able to consistently get very close to or reach concentric or positive failure? So can you perform a set where you fail that rep consistently, or you know for definite that that next rep will be a failure? And can you do that session in, session out, week in, week out? If you can, then you will very quickly push past that beginner level of physique. I guarantee you, irrespective of the program you do. And by default, as you train harder, your volume will come down. 4 sets of 12 is not going to cut it anymore. The concept doesn't make sense. You can say 4 sets of 7 to 15, for example. If you're training hard, then obviously you're going to start with higher reps, and as fatigue sets in, that point of failure will happen earlier and earlier and earlier. Reality is you're not going to be able to keep that going because it's much more difficult to train hard than to leave a large number of reps in the bag. This is the main problem that I see, and if you can solve this and work on this, then you will see very, very good progress relatively quickly. The next point that I'm going to talk about is exercise execution, and it goes hand in hand with the intensity reached during a set. Intensity is very important, but if it's performed with reps that are sloppy and unable to present that effort in a way that's going to stimulate that target muscle, then it's wasted energy, isn't it? It's ineffective. Now, I do think there's a place for experimentation and perhaps looser form as you move through the intermediate to advanced stages, but you need to start off with a very basic and very strict style of lifting, I think, that easily allows you to place that stimulus on the target muscle. Very, very important. Also, the choice of exercise has some, or the way that you perform that movement, rather, has some bearing on its effectiveness to be able to stimulate muscle growth. And I've gone into this into quite some depth on previous videos. Say, for instance, the low bar squat compared to the high bar squat. This is how you create disparity between your strength and size. And you can actually accumulate a decent level of strength, but you can still be stuck in a beginner level of physique. So the low bar, for example, it's going to stimulate, more kind of erector, more glute, more hip muscle mass as opposed to, being quad dominant. The high bar is the reverse of that. It's going to be very, very effective at stimulating quad growth. So those two exercises there, the differences between that, just a subtle difference in how you hold the bar and where the bar sits on the back, where you're kind of hinging at the hip and the knee, makes a massive difference in the level of muscle mass that you can accumulate over time. Bench press, again, depending on how you perform that, will determine the level of muscle mass that you can accumulate. And it's something that I'm going to continue to reiterate in my videos because it's very, very important. These lifts aren't necessarily bad, it's just the way that we perform them that can sometimes mean results are lackluster. So yeah, execution is incredibly important, goes hand in hand with training intensity. If you get both of these right, then you're going to be onto a winner and you're going to see good progress. Now, the quickest way of improving these two factors and improving your ability to build muscle mass ultimately is to record your sets. Remember this, guys, this is really important. Your set will always feel harder than it actually is. Your mind will play tricks on you during a set. It will do everything in its power to convince you that you've done enough and to stop that set. It's not pleasant. The body doesn't want to go through that kind of stress. So when you record yourself and then watch that video back, you can see just how many reps you left in the tank. What you thought was failure was actually 5-6 reps short of that. And that's consistently happening every set, every single session. And that's why you're not getting the results that you think you should have. Moreover, the execution as well. You can very quickly determine the effectiveness of your movement. Are you wasting all of that effort and intensity in wayward movement that's not, conducive to placing stimulus on the target muscle? Are you locked in? Are you focused? Is that kind of psychological intent there during the set? So it's very, very important to film your sets, and you can gather a lot of information very quickly and then apply that for your next session and do those movements on and hopefully see some really good progress quite quickly. Even better still would be to hire a coach who you send those videos to, who can then watch and provide feedback, and then within the space of a training cycle, whether that's 4 days or 7 days, you can then see drastic improvements in your ability to stimulate that muscle mass, and quite quickly that will result in more muscle. So as a quick plug, I offer online coaching, and from £15 a week I will provide feedback, audio feedback, on any of the videos that you send me from your training. And as I said, it's a super effective way at very quickly dramatically improving the effectiveness of your training and therefore seeing more results in the gym. So please record your sets, look at your intensity, look at your mental intent, look at your execution of the movement. And if you're doing those 2 or 3 things there on a regular basis, you're going to be seeing good progress. Like I said, it's probably not what you want to hear, but I think it's what you need to hear. You're watching this video for a reason, and ultimately you're going to need to consider these 2 factors if you ever want to escape beginner level physique. At the end of the day, if those 2 factors aren't taken care of, nothing else matters. Once you're consistently ticking off those 2 boxes, then the other variables become more important. Then you can spend time worrying about the split. You can spend time worrying about the frequency of training and the dietary protocol. It's more important then. But unless those 2 factors are seen to on a consistent basis, everything else is completely irrelevant. And like I said, coaches and gurus, it's very rare for them to tell you this information. As simple as it is, I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? But it's very hard to make money off of people by telling them to work harder, to train harder. It's just, they're more likely going to sell you a protocol that they convince you is going to work better than the one you're following now as a beginner. It's easy to make money off of naive and unhappy beginner level lifters. The problem is it's even easier now to go down the route of steroids to find that answer, to solve that problem. And that is a bit concerning. The supplementation industry is as bad as ever. It's still a scam. Now creators are getting in on it, creating products that are sold to naive and unhappy beginners. And they know they're going to buy it. They're targeted specifically towards beginners because they're not exposing their audience to the right kind of information. So they know they'll be forever stuck in this loop that they'll believe the next product or the next kind of viral video will solve their problems. It's what they're not doing. It's the answer as to why they're still stuck with a beginner level of physique. And it's just sad to see the level of deception that goes on. But anyway, I think that's pretty much the video wrapped up, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it and found it informative. I really do want to hear your comments. What do you have to say about the video? And any questions you got, an open book, guys. Just please, contact me, ask me about training or anything that you need help with, and I'll always take the time to respond. So if you enjoy the video, please think about subscribing to see more. Check out all my links in the description box for coaching and Excel and Google Sheets, spreadsheets, free newsletter, all that kind of stuff. So once again, thanks for watching and stay strong. See you on the next one.